I appreciate y'all's patience. Nobody respects y'all's time more than me, but this weather's got us a little bit changing today. Two of our coaches are out recruiting, so we changed practice time, so that's my apologies. As much as I like to blame it on not Matt Dunaway, I can't. It was my fault. So obviously Kansas's success and string of championships speaks for itself. They've got really good coaching and good players, but we're excited for the opportunity. It's one of basketball's great historic places to play. So I know I speak for our players and our staff that we're looking forward to the opportunity of competing against one of the best teams in the country, in our opinion.
Okay, we'll start with questions for Coach. Carlos in the front.
So Coach, have you kind of seen them kind of change their identity a little bit? It seems like they're taking a few more threes this year compared to last year. I know they've been averaging 11. They had 17 against Texas.
Yeah, it's a sign of a great coach that he adjusts kind of year to year based on his talent and to put their team in the best situation to be possible. It really started last year where they got away from playing two bigs in the high-low game that had been so successful for Coach Self, not only at Kansas but at Illinois and Tulsa and Oral Roberts before that. This year it's kind of a continuation of that. They're basically playing four guards for most of the game with one big, and the three-point shot is their best offensive weapon. So they change every year just based on their talent, and again, that's a sign of Coach Self being a Hall of Fame coach.
Earlier this season, do you kind of feel like you were able to prepare for something like that with some of the teams you played that really did shoot the three a little bit and you kind of had to focus on the perimeter defense?
Well, I don't know if you can ever prepare for Kansas until you actually play them, but I do think that we've played teams that have multiple shooters on the floor at one time, so maybe we can draw a little bit from those experiences. But when you play Kansas, especially in Allen Fieldhouse, it's a whole nother monster. But again, the word around our camp today and yesterday and eventually tomorrow is opportunity. You get into this to play against the best, to coach against the best, and this is a great early conference game for us to kind of see where we stack up against one of the best teams in the country.
Go to Jeff here, back right.
Coach, it seemed like when you jumped into a zone defense against Baylor that it was effective. What are you looking for when you see that opportunity to jump into a zone and try and change the pace and all that?
Well, I just think, one, it's a respect for the coaching in this league, and especially, I don't think you can guard somebody the same way for 40 minutes. And this game will be no different than the last, no different than the next game after Kansas. So we have a lot of respect for the coaches in the Big 12 and all the great players. And I just think it's to our advantage as every other coach. It's no secret. Changing defenses, sometimes gives your players a chance to be successful.
Watching Kansas and Texas, it looked like to me, Coach, that KU was playing a little bit more zone defense than usual. Is Bill playing a little bit more of that than we've seen in previous years, or no?
Yeah, I think it's based on the personnel. They're a little not outmanned. They're a little less numbered right now. He's playing 8 or 9 players where sometimes in the past Kansas teams could play 11 or 12. But I think more than anything, it's just another sign of Coach being a great coach, putting his players in a position to be successful. The zone was successful against Texas. We'll have to be prepared for that.
We'll go to Chessa there in the back middle.
Coach, I know you only look at one game at a time, but your team has won or upset 3 ranked opponents. It's got to feel good knowing, hey, we got another ranked team under our belt, but granted, you face Kansas next.
Yeah, man, it's just life in the Big 12. I haven't checked the rankings, but I would assume that everybody in the Big 12 is ranked right now. I know they are in my mind, but really every time you play a game in this conference, chances are you're playing against a ranked team. So that's what makes the Big 12 great for so many reasons. It's why that a lot of our teams make great runs in the tournament, and there's been national championships won from this league. I think we really prepare each other. On the other hand, it's been stated that we kind of beat each other up, and it's a long haul. But again, to me, that's opportunity. That's what it's all about. And I think our players, especially our seniors, are really embracing the opportunities the next 9 or 10 weeks to play against the best competition in the country.
Go back to Carlos.
With the way Kansas, I know you kind of mentioned that they're kind of small on their bench and they've been playing a smaller lineup. Is that something that y'all are kind of looking to kind of either change the tempo or something like that in terms of what you all are doing?
You definitely have to adjust a little bit when you play teams like Kansas. You'd like to think that, we'll just put our plan and we won't change for anybody. This is who we are. But it doesn't quite work like that at this level. If you're not ready to adjust and you're not ready to kind of change based on what the other team's doing, then I don't think you're giving yourself a chance to be as successful as we want to be. But certainly with Kansas, we're going to have to guard the three-point shot at 4 out of 5 positions. And then when Lightfoot's in the game, sometimes it's 5 out of 5 positions. We're going to have to try to, exist or control or compete with Kansas's runs. Just like a lot of great teams, they're a team that plays in runs, whether it's an 8-0 run or a 9-0 run or a 5-0 run. They play in stretches. There's a lot of teams that have played with Kansas in a 40-minute game, but it's those 2, 3, sometimes 4 runs over the course of a 40-minute game that just bury you. And that was the chance in our 2 games with them last year. We played a lot of good basketball against Kansas last year, but not good enough to win. So I think our players understand that. We're going to have to play our game. We're going to have to be ready to adjust to what they're doing. And then we're going to have to try to control their runs.
Speaking of that, with the bench scoring you've been able to get, I guess how important has it been, or I guess did you feel like anything kind of changed when you put Tommy to kind of come off the bench? Because it seemed like he's kind of been that guy that's giving you that inside scoring, or just a really clutch 3 to kind of really start things off for y'all.
I didn't feel like that specifically with that change. I thought Norrance was doing the same thing. In my mind, we have 7 or 8 starters. We have 7 or 8 guys that are going to play X amount of minutes per game. And then we've got some other guys that are energy-type players in limited minutes but have got to produce for us to be the team we can. But our lineup will always be kind of a work in progress. Might not necessarily be the 5 guys that are out there with a jump ball, but as you guys know, we sub often. It's a part of our identity, is our balance. We don't have any kind of plan to try to beat Kansas with 5 players, but we do have a plan with our depth to try to be in the game with Kansas.
I know you kind of mentioned it before with Zach. I guess, do you have an update on him, and do you kind of feel like he's going to be ready to go on Tuesday?
I know our doctors and Chris Williams, our trainer, have been working tirelessly around the clock with Zach. It's an ankle. It's just a matter of time. So the challenging thing is we only got a couple days to prepare. But if I was a betting man, which I'm not and can't be because of NCAA rules, I would bet that Zach's going to be ready come game time. He's a competitor, and it's not just because we're playing Kansas. It's because we're playing another Big 12 team. So our guys get up for all these games. We enjoy being in this league. It's a lot of fun.
We'll go to Sean in the middle.
As 2018 approaches, do you have any New Year's resolutions?
Well, whenever you're a father of 3 daughters, you've got all sorts of resolutions, not only yearly but daily. So I constantly think about them, trying to be a better father for them. And then with our guys, I always try to want to be a better coach. I tell the guys all the time, you got to be a better player than you were yesterday if we're going to win the day. I've always felt that way in coaching. We're trying to get better every day. So specific resolutions, I don't know, but just trying to be the best I can be to help this team I'm coaching is something I take seriously.
And how do you prepare these young players like Jarrett and Zaire to go into such a hostile environment as Kansas?
Well, I think one thing, it's a mindset. There's 2 different ways to look at it. I think a lot of teams have pulled up there on Naismith Drive in front of Allen Fieldhouse over the years, and you get off that bus, you walk down the stairs, you walk in there, and to me it's a mentality. And I think a lot of players, a lot of coaches don't give themselves a chance with their mental outlook when they walk in the gym. I mean, you got to believe that you can play with these guys. You got to believe that you can belong, and I do. And here's why I do. I think we got really good players. I think our players can play with Kansas players. I think we've got really good players that have paid the price, that have worked really hard, and are deserving to be in big games like this. And so this is 2 of the first-place teams in the Big 12 playing an early season game, and I think we've earned the right to be here. Now, whether or not we can be successful in the game is yet to be seen, but mentally, we feel good about our chances in this game because we have a lot of confidence. We know how hard it's going to be. We know how difficult it is to beat Kansas. We know what a great Hall of Fame coach, Coach Self, and Norm and those guys are. But, hey, we belong too, so we're excited of the opportunity.